UI themes and inject them. But I ripped that out happily, and I just put it in my root style sheet right here where I have import, and then I'm importing our default theme. This is where you would say something like dash material or dash bootstrap. But essentially, I'm putting my variables import above my all import. And literally, if we go to, I think I need to share everything again. I share everything. If I go to this, and it's upset because I think I was importing maybe before the file existed, maybe. We'll see. It could be a different thing. We'll see. It's taking our sweet time. So I'm going to pull up chat and see if anybody's saying anything. Almost there. Almost. Oh, we do have an error. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller so I can read. Module build failed. Can't find style sheet variable.scss. I wonder, oh, this is wrong because I did not put it inside of powder blue. I think what I should do is put it inside of powder blue though, because sometimes you want, I'm going to go back to my Finder. Sometimes you want to do like a light theme and a dark theme. And let's rename this to just powder blue and put it inside of our assets folder. Whoops. So if you wanted a dark theme and a light theme, I want to copy the folder and it's there, and I'm going to delete this. Then it would be better to have like a dark theme, light theme folder where everything's organized, and then you can have your overrides happening. But yes, so I'm going to put my powder blue here, and I think we should run now. I don't know if I need to restart my server. I don't think so. I think it should be happy. Going to the Chromes. Pip pip. Oh, she already reloaded. Excellent. It's very subtle, but if you'll notice, the X buttons are now that powder blue color, and on hover, they're the darker powder blue color. I think if we go to our dashboard and we select the drop down, it is now the powder blue color. And of course, the hovers are a darker powder blue. And again, this was super subtle. I could have gone to like a complete dark theme, and whatever, like the button here has gone to blue. I think it was orange by default. Actually, let me go ahead and just show you a side by side. So I'm going to go back to my VS Code and, idea. Let's do this. Let's put VS Code on this side of the screen, put this on that side of the screen, and move chat over here. And that's not what we wanted to click upon. Okay. So now you should be able to see them side by side. Hopefully, holler back if that's not what's happening in your life right now. I'm going to collapse that a little bit. So if I comment out our variables that are coming from powder blue, and I let that HMR do its thing, you'll see that the button on the right side of the screen turned orange. Please forgive this button from popping out of its container. Again, I don't take credit for the Hire Hero page. I know I should have cleaned it up. Anywho, so the button is back to orange. If we go to the dashboard, this drop down is back to different shades of gray. Bring this back in, boop, boop. Variables will override the default, and our world should be happy again as soon as it reloads. And there it is, the light blue. So yeah, let me know what you think of theming. That is really the crux of it. It's super simple, pretty basic. Our theme builder is awesome because then you can go ahead and like re-import that theme, continue to modify it, and make your own brand out of it. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. This is something I'm going to actually throw up real quick. Tell me if you can see the theme builder challenge. Holler back in the chat. Can you see it? Because this is the challenge, and the best submission will win an Amazon gift card. Multiple submissions have a chance of winning. I'm not opposed to that. If multiple people submit gorgeous themes, I can see Theme Builder Challenge. Awesome. Thank you, Josh. You're amazing and beautiful. So yeah, here's the challenge. Clone the project, open the theme builder, build a gorgeous theme. There's the short link to it if you have not opened it yet. Add your custom theme to the project, and in the chat, which we cannot do, so in the Twitters, I'm pretty like OCD, so we're going to go ahead and change that right now. At Alyssa Nicoll at Kendo UI. Both, all of those. Save, press play. So yeah, add your custom theme, the variables.scss to the project. You don't have to do it the way that I did it. You can do it any way that you want. You just have to get the theme working. And then make the screenshot like where I can see the theme is working. I know there's not a ton there. Maybe open the drop down and screenshot that, or you can go ahead and add something in. You have all night to make this happen, but the best submissions that I like the most will be sent an Amazon gift card. So is the idea to change what you have already? The idea, I mean, yes and no, Josh. The version that you have of my application does not have the powder blue in it. It's just the default Kendo UI theme. So the idea is just to show that you have modified the theme in some way using our theme builder. But yeah, so this is the challenge. Send me a screenshot of the modified, like really any page, but it'd be great if you picked a page that we could see the theme change. Because we have not added all the components yet. We're about to add a grid. It's gonna get crazy up in here. We're about to add a grid, but you really do have all night. There's no rules. We make the rules. So yeah, send me a screenshot of the modified theme, and you'll be entered to win a gift card. Really, I'm just going to send out like to the prettiest themes. Okay, so the next topic of interest. I wanted to put that theme challenge out there. You can be working on it. You cannot be working on it. The next thing I wanted to show real quick is boo, boo, boo. We're just going to touch on this really quickly, and then we're going to get to grids. So if you're here and you're all about the grids and you're like, where are the grids? I need them. They're coming. Okay. We are so close to talking about grids. Okay. Do that, go there, pull that up. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, you can see here that I removed our styles from being imported inside of the Angular JSON. I removed that. All we have is our default style sheet, and I imported it here. But something that's like a really, really super awesome, great idea for you to do if you're using Kendo UI or really any UI library, it's always great to be conscious of what you're using. Like, don't use anything except what you need to use. So I'm going to go ahead and I think what we're using so far. Let's see. I am trying to find, there they are. So really what you would want to see instead of having this all import is something like this, where you're importing only like the grid or only inputs, buttons, and the list view, right? And that way, if we go like this, boop, 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 that way you're only pulling in the styles that you really need. And I right now am going to keep this because I don't know how far we're going to get and how many components we're going to add. But just as like a friendly reminder, when I push up the final time, I'm going to leave this in there just so that you can, hey, maybe you should only import the things that you need. Those are in our node modules. You go to progress. I know it's horrendous. You're like, why are you showing us? Why are you showing us node modules? And then you go down to the Kendo theme. We're using default. And inside of the SCSS folder is all the options for the individual SCSS files that you can import. I will close node modules now and never open them again. So yeah, I think that closes us out on themes, potentially, probably. I don't see any questions about themes, I don't think. Maybe not. Okay. But at Alyssa Nicoll, at Carl Bergenham, we will answer your questions from now until eternity about all things, but specifically Kendo UI would be great. So DM us if you think of anything after the fact. I always like to mention this because that's whenever my questions tend to happen. Okay. I think we're ready for the mini grid demo. Do we have time for the mini grid demo is my question. Let's see. We are at 5:14 my time. We're going to go till 6. So we've got about 45 minutes left. I don't think we have time for, we'll take like a 2-minute break after the mini grid demo. We'll make it super, super quick in case anybody needs to get some water or something. But let's do the mini grid demo. Let's pull that up. I'm going to stop my server. We will be back in the Tour of Heroes app to do a larger grid demo with our pony data in a minute. Components, we're definitely not going to have time for those slides. I have like 30 additional slides to cover like extra components if we wanted, but yeah, she's not going to happen. All right, let's go ahead. Josh, I hear you. Did you want to say something, darling?
The Bravery also had some more polls we could run during the 2-minute break.
That's awesome. Okay, let's do it. We can do a 5-minute break, but let me get this grid demo done first. We'll 5-minute break it, and then we'll come back for the meatier stuff before we close out. Because yeah, we can run any, and I don't know if you can run multiple polls at once. I don't know how you want to do it. But sorry, we only had time for 2 breaks this sesh.
Oh, no worries. I can not do it too if you it's all up to you.
Okay, we'll probably fit in one more poll. But yes, let's go to. Let me pull up our grid demo. Pull that over there. Make it that font size. And we're going to close that. Okay. I think we're ready to share. Here we go. And I'm going to paste this bud to everybody. Hopefully you all get it. Zoom is hard for me. I don't know why. There's Twitch I'm like pretty good at now, but sometimes the simpler applications I'm like, what am I doing? So here's the grid. She is one of our most popular components. And I can probably make this a little bit bigger so that we can see a little bit more. I'll actually just close out the code right now so we can look at the grid in all her glory. So yes, lots of features. We'll touch on a few during our remaining time during the workshop, but check out the grid docs for all of the juicy details. It's a really incredible, just super incredible. I was trying to think if I wanted to have you do this next challenge. So I'm gonna put the challenge out there, and if anybody nibbles and wants to do it, great. If you are all too sleepy or tired, no worries. Just want to give you chances to win prizes and make this as interactive as possible. So the next challenge, and again, the theme builder challenge is still out there, still going. You can still win a gift card, but this challenge is who can create a grid using the Tour of Heroes Pony application, and just like the simplest grid with like any data showing. So if you send me on the Twitters a screenshot of you with grid data showing, then boop, putting that notification off the screen, then you can win a prize. So send it out. But this is our grid. I'm going to go over a couple, and this is my mini grid example, and I pasted the link in chat if you want to open up the Stack Blitz yourself. But we will pop into our Tour of Heroes 2 challenges. I know, Josh, I know, too many challenges. Yeah, again, first time doing a workshop, and I was like, how many exercises is too many exercises? How much demo do I do? So we're all learning together. But yes, I am going to, let's see.
Sorry, Alyssa, I was trying to type things out for you, but I accidentally hit enter.
Oh, no worries. Did I break something? You can tell me if I broke something.
No, you didn't. I'm trying to help you document it so that I can put it up for everyone.
Thanks. Okay, so this grid, as you can see, we've got a lot of horizontal things happening. I don't have a lot of screen space. There's not much we can do about that, but we could show more vertically. And so one of the first things, if we go ahead and open up, I'm going to open up our TypeScript and our HTML. I moved the stuff in the HTML out, but I did not have time to move the CSS out. So I apologize for all of you separatists out there. I don't even know if that's what you call it. HTML and CSS separators. I did not separate that just yet. But if we go down, you'll see that we have our Kendo grid. We have a Kendo grid binding to grid view, and we have a height set of 500. If we just remove that height, why are you doing said things? Okay, if you remove said height, I believe it goes as, if I scroll, yeah, it's going to go as tall as it needs to be to have this many items, which isn't ideal. You want some sort of scroll, but we want it to be just a little bit taller than 500. And I really despise inline styles. So let's go ahead and set this height to 90 view height. And we're going to call out the class of KGrid. And as you can see, no important tags were used in the customizing of this grid height. It scrolls. It is 90 units of our view height, and it works. Like, it's perfect. It's beautiful. I love that. I know it's super silly and super simple, but it makes me really happy. Another thing that's often, hello, are we still there? Woo! I think I just lost my mouse. So hopefully my audio is still going. That was really weird. My mouse and keyboard just flashed on and off. I'm still here. Thanks, Carl. So that was very strange. There's a ghost in my office. The next thing is page size. So let's go back over to our grid, and let's go ahead and add a page size, and we'll specify 20. Save. And I want to go ahead and add some, what we're working towards is adding pageability. Is that a word? Okay, so I actually don't want to set it to a hard-coded. Let's set it to a variable. And inside of our TypeScript, we're going to go down and we're going to find our TypeScript. And we're going to be like, hi, TypeScript. It's good to see you. We're going to make, whoops, nope, that goes in our, we need one last binding of pageable. So our pager is actually, if we have time, I have a list view demo, but our pager works on many different components. We have the ability to do paging in our grid. We have the ability to do paging in our list view. And I mean, Carl can probably list out if there's any others that it's like automatically built into, but you want to set, it's really the same across the board. You want to set the, and I don't need page sizes if I'm doing it like that. Pageable, you want to bind to this object that has different options. And we need to go ahead and have some variables. The reason we're getting nan is because it doesn't know what a lot of these things are because we haven't created them yet. So we need save and go back over here and refresh. Sometimes I do bad things, and sometimes StackBlitz like doesn't update. So at this point, it looks like I did a bad thing. Okay. Let's see. Let's try. I'm looking at my time. I could debug it, but I'm just going to go and highlight some of the things that you can do. So let's see, info. Let's try to turn this to, yeah. I think let's turn on page sizes. See if that dropdown is working. So the page sizes dropdown is working. I don't know why my button count isn't working. If I did that wrong. Button count. That should be, I'm not quite sure. I don't want the info. So I'm going to remove save and refresh. Of course, I cannot get it working. Well, I think it might actually have something to do with my styles, because if we, oh no, I needed a default value for the items, because now whenever we're at, like I went 10 items per page, it's showing you 1 through 10 of 100 items. And then the 3 button count that I set is actually showing up. So I'm sorry about the bug. I don't know. I did not, like, again, make a sacrifice to the demo gods. So no idea why. Or maybe it was just info. Do I not have info of true? Maybe let's just set this. Let's just get rid of it. Okay. A lot of times it defaults to just not being there. Items per page. So I think I need to figure out how to get a default items per page, but I am way over on time. So, oh, I know what I'm doing. These belong to my other grid demo. I had set up some pre-code stuff so this would go faster, but this all belongs to my ponies. Oh, goodness gracious. Was not the most. Oh, there's a Q&A. Does it support server-side paging? From Vivi at 5:24. 1 minute to go. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry about that very special thing. I believe it does support that. I'm going to let Carl answer that in full while I pull up. We're at 5:25. I'm going to pull up. Let's see. Yeah, let's pull up the next demo. And Carl, if you didn't see it, it's in the Q&A instead of the chat. Which I always get. Not really on topic. Will we get a copy of the recorded workshop from Anonymous? Yes. They will notify you. I believe it's in a couple weeks of when the recording is edited and published. But yes, you will have access to it. And I want to cram as much as I can into that recording. So let me go ahead and go back to my VS Code. So I'm marking it as 5:26. So if you have not sent me a grid yet, now is the cutoff. And if you're like actively working on that, just shout out and let me know, and I can absolutely give some leeway there. But I'm about to show you how to make the simplest grid possible, which was the challenge. So if we go into my pony grid component that I created just for this, and we can at this point in time bring back our pony grid, and I made a simple grid. And a simple grid she is. So this belongs up here. I'm going to leave my comments just in case you check out the code I push up afterwards so you can follow along easier. But this is the simple grid, the simplest that I could make it. I guess we could get rid of the height, actually. We can go even further. Really, you just need the Kendo grid and the binding to the data. And you're like, really? That's all you need? I think I'm sharing. Let's do this. I'm going to share. We're going to share everything. Yes, that is all you need. So if we go back to localhost and bring that up, you have to actually run the server if you want to see something show up. But yes, sorry, it does support server-side paging, but I am going to let Carl answer that in more detail so I can hopefully get through a little bit more of a demo. Right now, we're waiting for this application to spin up. There we go. Compiled successfully. Okay. And there is our grid with our sexy powder blue theme that we added earlier. But it's super basic, right? Like you're scrolling through, like there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of features. But and do let me know if you're not seeing what I think you're seeing. But it is the simplest way to just get something on the screen. Let's step it up a notch. And we're going to pull in, I called it grid columns. So the next question that I would have is, how do you customize the columns, right? And so you can actually specify a Kendo grid column and give it the data piece that it's going to be pulling out of. So if I go, this is local data. So if I actually go here and show you, you have, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. You have ID, name, URL, sex, residence, occupation, kind, and images. And so these are the data pieces that the grid has access to. And I just put it in the same order. You might be like, what's the point of that? Well, now that you're actually specifying the columns, you can do even more things like give it a default width. And so if we save this and go back over here, and this is our second grid down here that you can compare with the first one. So the first one has like the same size columns. This one we've specified, we want a smaller name. We want a larger occupancy space, right? It's got a lot more customization to it. I'm going to make sure I have the chat up in case anybody is talking about the grid. Carl answered, I think the grid and all of our data-bound components don't really care where the data comes from, local or server-side. However, we do have a sample that showcases how you can do server-side paging. And he pasted the link in the chat. So check that out, Vivi, and anybody else who cares about such knowledge. I'm going to go back over to the codes and chug right along. So you can actually add things like literally, if I just go to our docs, the docs that I keep mentioning, and I want us to have this and this. And if we go to our docs and you just start scrolling, you don't even have to navigate anywhere on the grid overview page, you'll see the options of editing, paging, sorting, filtering, grouping, export to PDF and Excel. I mean, the list goes on. It's a very, very powerful component, and there's no way we could cover all of it. But I am going to cover as much as I can. And so let's pull this up, and we're going to throw on resizable true. And yes, it is as easy as that. We now can resize our columns. And things like this are awesome for when you have employee dashboard with grids and you want to go ahead and not only allow them to resize the columns, but you want to save that setting of like the size of their columns or the order of their columns or the grouping that they had selected. You want to save those settings and then plug them back in when the user signs in again. Things like that are really powerful and really awesome. So the next thing I wanted to show was Modifying the grid content. So we use ng-template very often in our components in order to get something custom. So if we pull up this demo, I'm actually going to copy or comment, excuse me, not copy. I'm going to comment out these two, but when I push up at the end of the evening, they will be there with the notes. So you can check them out in the Pony Grid component. So now we have, if we go back over to this, we've got a little bit more happening. I made the image. I put that one first. We've got our row striping happening here. It's getting there, right? She's getting there. So if we pull up this, I ended up customizing our first grid column with ng-template, and I'm putting in our pony headshots into an image. For the ponies, this data I literally got offline, and so it's just an array of images. So I'm just grabbing the first image that they had of that pony and displaying it there. But you can see here in this example how we're using ng-template to customize the content of grid column. So yes, let me double check my notes, and any questions, ask them in the Q&A or just plop them right in the chat. We don't really have a preference. We're all friends here. But I think I want to show some additional features. Yeah, let's do this. So I'm going to pull up my notes, and I think we already answered that question. Yeah, we did. Okay. So over here on the right, I have some notes. So I'm going to just be using it to keep me on track. We only have 30 minutes left. We're probably not going to have time to take a break. But again, the recording will be available to you in a couple weeks whenever the editing is done. So let's go ahead and do some fun things to our grid, right? Let's give it a, let's see. Let's give it a page size, and let's see if we actually need to turn on the pageable items as well, I believe. So boop, boop. And let's go ahead and put in some variables. Ponies. Boop, 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 boop. Let's do this and do that. I think, yeah, we should get, I love that powdered blue. That makes me happy, seeing our customized theme in there. So now we have a little bit better of, I'm going to put this over on 2 and put this over on 4. So now we should have a little bit better example of the paging. And sorry about that previous demo not working. I was getting a little scrambled, was being rushed for time. Apparently, I made enough demos to last us for another 2 hours. So that's my bad. I totally misjudged time. So here we have in this grid demo, the proper paging, where we are going to specify and give pageable this object. And inside of our TypeScript, we're setting things like button count to 3. So that's why I was messing up. So I think we need to set a default page size before the buttons appear. So let's change the button count to like 6. No, let's see. Did I plug everything in? Actually, let's change something. Let's actually list out the page sizes. There we go. And so now if we toggle through, we're seeing 6 buttons here for the page sizes. The info is actually, I know we're really cramped right now. And so the info is scrolling on top of itself. Usually I would assume a grid, like if you're viewing a grid of this weight, you're not on mobile, but we can do mobile, and we could actually modify our pager styles so that these stack on top of each other. Or you could just turn off info to be false on mobile so that you have like a little less going on down there. It's like less crowded. Oh, sorry, I don't have chat up. So bad. But yes, ask your questions. I'm going to move chat to the bottom so I can see if anybody tags me. Okay. So we also have the options with type to be numeric or input. If we change that to input, we should see the ability to type in like the page that we want to jump to instead of having the drop down. And then previous and next, we can also turn those off. False. Thank you, darlings. So that simplifies the, let's put this on the top. So that will simplify the paging options even further. Let's keep moving. Let's keep going. Let's keep grooving. Put this in 4 position. Let's put it over here and do this. Okay. The next thing is sortable. So let's go ahead and make things sortable, shall we? And now you'll see when I click on a column, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to like make this really, really ugly. So forgive me. I'm like zooming in so much. When you click on a column, there is an arrow that appears with sortable, which this wasn't happening before. If we go make us normal size again, and you will see that we are going back and forth between Apple Bloom being on top or Zephyr being on top, or nothing, which it then is the default list of data. So sortable true. I think it made a note, yeah, that sortable, that right now in our application is only sorting by one thing at a time. So like we can click on residence or alias or name. But you can, and I think we have a demo that demonstrates how to sort by multiple columns at once. Groupable. Okay. Set groupable equal to true. Go back over to our grid. Now you'll see a new thing appear in the header. Drag a column header and drop it here to group by that column. So let's say we want to group by the sex, female or male. If I drag that column up here, you'll see that we now have, I didn't know, we apparently only have females in this data set. Sorry, I thought we had at least one male. That's funny to me. But you can group by multiple things, and it gives you these nice little drop downs. And so that can be super useful, especially when you talk about persisting that, so that your grid is this like how you left it when you come back. Reordering columns, of course, is simply toggled on by reorderable, which isn't the easiest thing to spell. Reorderable. So now if we go here, we should be able to drag, and of course we still have things like sortable and groupable active. Column resizing. So right now, if I hover, I think we covered this in the last one, because I have resizable true, but you can always disable that if you need to. I'm going to skip filtering so that we can get to the list view demo because we have T-minus 20 minutes. But I'm actually going to save and push up everything that I have so far. No, I'll do it after list view. That way I don't take up any more time. But please ask your questions regarding the grid or any of our other components. And as always, if you think of something, just DM me or Carl on the Twitters. We are ready. I think we're ready to just jump straight in. I know that the grid is like by far our most popular component. However, it's not my most favorite component. So my most favorite, because that's proper grammar, would have to be the list view. And so so far we've been adding all of this, like these grids, to the dashboard, which already has to the dashboard. So let's go over to, I've created here it is, a list view component. And these are the steps. No, we probably won't get through all of them, but I want to show you as many of them as I can. And this stuff is already on the words. This stuff is already on the GitHubs. I just need to push up the changes to the HTML. So the list view is a very new component that we have, but it's similar to the grid in a way. I love it so very much. So here's the simplest list view I could think of. I'm binding to ponies, which has a little bit more information than heroes if you study the data that I have. So I'm binding to ponies, and then we're using the Kendo list view item template with ng-template to loop through and pass let pony, the variable that we're creating right here. And we're just listing out the pony name. And so if we go back over to heroes, you'll see, because we were giving the dashboard a lot of love. So I'm plopping this into heroes. You will see the list view of just the heroes' names being listed out. It's pretty simple. Let me put this over here and make it a little bit bigger, just a little bit. Okay. So let's get fancy with it. Let's do a little bit more info. If you save this, let this refresh. Now we have a list view that has the index being listed out, as well as information of, is it the first, is it the last, or is it a middle item, which is just not first or last, right? So we're using our API here to go ahead and grab that information and print it out on screen. Header, footer, let's do this. Whoops, not a head, don't need that. Thank you, darling. Okay, header, this one. You can add a header or footer to your list views, and one sec. Let me look at this CSS. How is this my flex wrap? And this one. Yeah, I turned off view encapsulation, which means I don't get my host styles, which means my flex wrap isn't happening. So I'm going to turn that off right now. We might need to come back to it, but maybe not. Okay, so we've got our first simple one, our second fancier one, and this one with a header and a footer. And of course the scrolling. It's still a lot of information though. So adding the ability to page, which as I mentioned, we have the ability to add paging to list views, which is just, it's beautiful, right? I didn't really talk too much about the header or footer. It's very similar to the list view item template, but it's Kendo list view header template and footer template. And then you just inside of the ng-template tag, add what you need to appear there. And I have customized, if we go over to the styles, which I did separate out, you're welcome. I have customized inside of the list view things like the header and the footer and title. And as you can see, it's very basic styles. Like there's no important tag this, there's no chain of classes and DOM elements in order to make your specificity higher. So keep going down. Pageable, right? So here we've set pageable to pager settings and page size to page size. Don't forget that default page size like I did earlier. Apparently it's important. I mean, obviously it makes sense, right? I don't know. Sometimes I don't know where my brain is. So here we have our pager settings object, and we are giving the pager settings bottom. We can change that to top if we wanted, and you'll see when the hot module replacement jumps in, it'll plop it in the top. And we've got our drop down header here to jump to different pages. And those page sizes are being limited to 5 right now. But of course, if we change that to 2, it will make that happen. So yeah, as you can see, beautiful, right? Previous and next I have as false. We can set that to true. And I actually like it better on the bottom. So I'm going to set that back. And we'll see that we've got a whole lot of data that just popped in. We can also control the button count just like we could with the grid, and the info as well if that's displaying. And then, of course, you can change the type from a drop down to an input type if you care to do so. Okay, let's go back over here, and Josh, go ahead and shout at me verbally if there's any questions. I don't have the chat up right now, but I do want to get through as much of this as possible. So search list, we're going to go do a simple search. So a list is great. A pageable list is even better. A list that you can search through. Now that's something I can get behind. So here we used Kendo text box, which is an input that we have that we've used inside of our Kendo list view header template. And we're binding to ponies as we were before, two-way binding now. And we are using the ng module change event to handle filter change, right? And if we actually go over to my TypeScript, right now, if we tried the filter, it wouldn't work because we aren't handling that filter change event. So inside of this, this one's pretty simple where we are normalizing the query to lowercase, and then we're doing a match if it's inside of, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger because the wrapping is driving me batty. Not that big, okay. So it's doing a match to whether it's in the item name or the item alias, because those are really the only two pieces of information I cared to search through. But now if we save this and go over here, we should be able to search for my favorite Pinkie Pie. You can see that's changing on all the list views because of the bindings, which we'd want to change. But really, who's going to have this many list views on top of each other? So anywho, that is how to add a search. And I'm going to take a breath. So were you going to say something, Josh? Sorry, I was talking.
Oh yes, there was a question posted. Well, I actually had the question. You and Carl has been able to answer a bit in the chat, which is
awesome. Okay, cool.
The question was very simply, you have the grid view and the list view. My question was, how different are they? I mean, I've used Kendo UI before, and I really like it. But I was just curious, like, what's the main?
Right. What's the differences? Okay. Yeah. I definitely want to adjust this because people might be watching the recording and they might not have access to our chat to see the answer. And so Carl said yes and no. While the grid does have the ability to define a custom template for a row or cell, everything is driven in different is driven by rows and columns. Meanwhile, in a list view, you can create a completely custom layout, including something like the layout of cards, which is actually what I'm going to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and just show that right now. I'm going to jump ahead because my next thing with a list view, because we can adorn the search, but I'm going to go ahead to customizing our list view. I think I called it custom list view. My main thing was, yeah, sure, I've got this list of items, but what if I want the list of ponies that I have down here? Because this list down here is one that I built from scratch. But what if I want it inside of the Kendo UI list view and I want to have paging and I want to have searching and I want to have all those features? So we can actually get these cards, like Carl was saying, inside of our list view. You might be curious as to why the styles are broken. And that's because, of course, I turned off view encapsulation. And so if I go back, I am going to find it. Encapsulation, view encapsulation, dot none. It has to be capital. Save that. It goes over here. And we have to scroll. Here's our list view, and it has our cards here. And they're behaving as the cards are below, and they have the styles. I'm actually importing the heroes component SCSS here. And so, yeah, the list view is pretty powerful, and it's very different from the grid, but it has a lot of the same features like paging or searching. And yeah, so honestly, I think the list view is my all-time favorite component. I don't know how well that translates to others, but let me show you something else that you can do with badges, which makes me super happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go up here to our customized list view that's actually using hero data now instead of pony data. And I'm going to replace our image. I'm actually going to wrap our image in a Kendo badge container. And it has a lot of attributes. That's because these are here to remind me. They're not actually all needed. The last one is being applied. So you can see over here, we've got these little badges, and I'm using it to display the ID, but badges are really freaking cool because you can, like notifications need badges, how many emails you have need badges. This could be, instead of ID, it could be any other piece of information. But you change it from, instead of small, we could say large. Instead of dark, we could say light. And we could take off all of these and make it a circle because there's all those shapes as options. So we save that, let that reload. You'll see large light circles now that are badges. And let's do that, clean up that. Oh yeah, the cutout border, you can turn that on and off. I love it. I will never forsake it. So yes, that is badges. We also have the ability to add loaders for whenever data is loading. So I thought it would be cool if the header changed to say loading more pony data and then it had this loader. So if we go here, you can see that I'm using the customizability of the list view with ng-template to add an ng-template up here if loader is true. Right now, loader is always true. So we can go back over here and set, yeah, loader is always true. So what we want to do, and I'm just going to copy paste this because we are super out of time. I modified get heroes. So instead of just subscribing to get heroes, I'm just going to comment that out and then below it, show you how you can modify that. Boop, 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 boop. So that, oh, right. And we need to add a delay so that you can see the loader for longer. Don't let me forget that. Okay. So here we're modifying get heroes so that inside of the subscribe, we are listening for whenever we actually have a complete and we turn that loader off. It's going to be pretty quick. Also, that's not the page we were on. Weird. Okay. So I'm actually going to go and comment out all of our other list views except for, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to comment this one out and just so that we have less list views to stare at. I want that one. So I'm going to leave that one on screen. But we're going to comment that out and these two. Maybe we'll leave the simple one. Okay, go over here. So we have our simple one. We have our complex one. I have a hanging comment somewhere. And we have our one with, all of the fanciness. Where is that? That's going to drive me nuts. There you are. I understand. I see what I did wrong. There you go. Are you happy? Does that satisfy you? Okay. So what were we doing? Loading. Oh, right. It's kind of hard to see because it's so quick. So we're going to go ahead and go into, I think, let me think about it. Which file do I need? I know, I think maybe our service. Oh, no. Yeah, the hero service. And I need to go up to get hero, and we're going to add a delay of like, I think 500 should be fine for us to see it. Go back over. No, maybe not. Oh, no, that should work. That totally should work. Unless, of course, I need to restart the server. Well, we are certainly out of time, but essentially, if I can go to the list view, and maybe it's because my comments are still not working. That's super strange. Anywho, we're going to let that load. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, I will have it working before I push up. But that was fun. It's fun. I'll reshare my screen as soon as it's done loading. But yeah, the list view has lots of power. The grid has lots of power. There's so many components. So thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you